character as important and iconic as Richtofen himself, Samantha has been a present force since her introduction in 2008's World at War. Alongside Richtofen, she has continued to live on outside of her story of origin. But for those who are unfamiliar with her, take this video as your history lesson, because in this video, I'll be going over the entire story of Samantha Maxis. Born on November 5th, 1934 in the original timeline, or Dimension 1, Samantha would only be raised by her father Ludwig Maxis after the unfortunate passing of her mother, a result of childbirth complications. The growing Samantha was neglected as a result, not from lack of love, but an obsession. Her father was the head of an international but private research group known as Group 935. His time and resources were only ever being directed towards this research group, and the element they had discovered, Element 115. Being raised by a father that has closed himself and her off from the rest of the world meant she never really went to school, she never made friends, and her life would be raised strictly in facility walls. Her father's guilt over his inability to be present in his daughter's life began to gnaw at him. Still not willing to properly divert his attention off of his organization, he instead provides Samantha with a pet, a dog whom she names Fluffy. Excited at the prospect of having a dog to herself, and a friend, Ludwig ironically tries to steady her excitement by informing her that Fluffy will require a great deal of attention, and that she's expecting puppies. Hoping to keep them too, Ludwig responds with,
"We'll see, Samantha. One step at a time."
While her father and his assistant, Dr. Edward Richtofen, continued on with their teleporter testings, undead experiments, and weapons developments, Samantha did the only thing she really could: play. With her dog and her stuffed teddy bear, Samantha played in the one room she could ever find true peace in, a life away from her father's experiments and Group 935's ambitions. Though neglected, she was spoiled when it came to her toys, which you can see across the maps such as Kino der Toten, Der Eisendrache, and the Origins End cutscene. Even the monkey bomb itself was a toy for Samantha, until Richtofen twisted it into the tactical weapon we know it as today. By the end of 1942, Samantha was left in Richtofen's care as her father left to go to 935's recently established Kino facility with the goal of controlling their undead subjects. She would spend the next 3 years of her life at the Siberian facility while Richtofen pursued his own self-interests like the Agartha device and even cloning, and according to Richtofen, in his care he even experimented upon Samantha. To what degree, we don't know. And honestly, I don't want to know. During her stays at both Der Eisendrache's Eagle's Nest and the Siberian facility, Samantha was visited by the Keepers. There isn't much or any lore on these drawings, but perhaps the Keepers were keeping tabs, ensuring the cycle went as planned, or at the very least, that she continued the path she was destined for. Whether as an illusion, a projection, or the real thing, one of these Keepers was Samantha's own mother. No, Samantha's mom was not a Keeper initially. Unfortunately though, that is all there is on the subject. 3 years later, Samantha is returned to her father after Richtofen was removed from the Siberian facility and brought back to Doris. Her father, truly unaware of what dastardly experiments Richtofen has performed on his own daughter and his 3 test subjects. Dr. Maxis and Richtofen continued their MTD experiments, making no progress even now. Frustrated and out of living subjects, Maxis resorts to going backwards, to work on an animal, and only one came to mind. It was clear that Maxis' desperation to appease the Reichstag has outdone his own needs to be a father. Richtofen dragged Fluffy into the test chamber and tied her down, per the orders of Dr. Maxis. What neither doctor knew is Samantha had snuck into the room and was watching the entire time. The MTD's chamber closed, and it began to charge, teleporting Fluffy away, or so they hoped. The teleportation was unsuccessful, and Fluffy's vitals were nowhere to be found. But Fluffy was indeed alive. Instructed to open the teleporter chamber, Richtofen hears a sound emit from within. Ordered again to open the teleporter doors, a fiery hound greets them, still tied down. The innocent Fluffy was no more. Samantha makes her presence finally known, horrified by her pup's transformation. She runs towards the chamber to be with her dog. Her father, trying to stop her, chases after until they are both in the chamber with the rotten Fluffy. Before they could leave and get into safety, the teleporter's chamber doors closed on them. A terrified Samantha cries in her father's arms as he cradles her closely, protecting her from the hellhound that seeks to tear them apart. Maxis bangs on the doors, demanding Richtofen to open them and let them free. A devilish grin grows across Richtofen's face, and he sends them away, believing them to have met their fates in the same way Fluffy did. It was only mere seconds for her. The young girl, scared beyond belief, opens her eyes, realizing she cannot breathe. She was weightless. Her father and dog were nowhere to be seen. The only thing in her vision now was a strange construct of alien nature. It stood there, almost as though it was inviting her to come close. Needing to find air, and still confused and in shock, Samantha ran towards the device. Two doctors at the site witnessed the event, Doctors Groff and Schuster. Samantha entered the device, known as the MPD, and became tainted and corrupted by the dark ether. The doctors contact Richtofen, who was still in the belief that he had secured his revenge on Maxis and his daughter. Upon hearing the news, he realizes that if Samantha had survived, then her annoying father must have too. He orders them to find his whereabouts and to bring him to Griffin Station. He needs Samantha out of the pyramid if he is to continue his grand scheme. It would not take long for them to find Dr. Maxis, who is lodged away in some other realm known as the Crazy Place. Brought to Griffin Station, he is caught up to speed on what's happened to his daughter and confronts the MPD. Maxis sees the error of his ways. Everyone has betrayed him. His organization, his people, they don't matter. What matters now, and what should have always mattered, is his daughter. He apologizes to Samantha for not having been there, for not being a good father. Crying, Samantha exits the MPD. The two share a hug for a brief moment. Maxis's true colors are shown as he asks her to do one last thing.
Kill them all.
He proceeds to shove his daughter back into the MPD and grabs hold of a handgun, ending his life. Samantha, having her entire world taken away from her in just a single day, is consumed by hatred and sorrow, and awakens her mind in Group 935's army of the undead. Their eyes alter to glow a burning yellow. With this newfound unlimited power, she begins unleashing her undead army across space and time. Schuster escapes from Griffin Station. The fate of Groff is left unknown. Aware of the danger he is in now, Richtofen awakens his test subjects, Tank Dempsey, Nikolai Belinsky, and Takeo Masaki. Unsure of where they are or who Richtofen even is, they follow him because that is all they have left to do. And so, across time, from 1945 to 2025, Samantha Maxis sends her undead army after Ultimus in her desperate attempt to slaughter Richtofen and his allies. All of 935's facilities have been destroyed by her rage, and only one pest remains before she can feel any semblance of peace. During her attempts at slaughter, Richtofen brings his allies to assist him in collecting a series of items that he needs in order to thwart Samantha, though his intentions are not for the good of the world. But we'll get back to that shortly. Outside of trying to kill Richtofen, Samantha has been busy tormenting the minds of others to force them into her cause, such as Dr. Lehman at Groom Lake and Dr. Zavoyski from the Ascension Group Cosmodrome. Starting with Dr. Lehman, having acquired Richtofen's diary and using it to help Groom Lake in their pursuit of teleportation and reaching Griffin Station before the Russians can, it's this diary that begins his corruption. Samantha's voice enters Lehman's mind, perhaps due to being exposed to too much 115 or forbidden knowledge, which possibly caused his mind to open. Regardless, her influence and corruption over Lehman began with this diary. He begins to serve Samantha's wishes, unleashing a small outbreak in the Pentagon after becoming aware of the United States' intentions to try and defeat her. Lehman ended his life upon initializing the outbreak, which was detained soon after. But this was not the sole outbreak to occur at the Pentagon. The US government slowly realizes the threat Samantha poses on their country and the world. Robert McNamara schedules a meeting for US President John F. Kennedy to meet with Cuban Prime Minister Fidel Castro and, well, for whatever reason, Richard Nixon, to put aside their differences and face the real threat. Over with Zavoyski, he too read Richtofen's diary and fell down the same spiral that Lehman did. Upon reading the diary, Zavoyski started to see children's toys around the Cosmodrome, believing at first that someone irresponsibly led a child into their research site. Feeding into his ego and desires, Zavoyski succumbs to Samantha's manipulations and continues working on the Gersh device in secret. When the device was completed, Dr. Zavoyski presented it to Dr. Gersh, which threw Gersh into the rift it created. In the ether, Gersh was tormented and tortured by Samantha. At the same time, she sent Zavoyski to the Pentagon on November 5th, 1963, having him unleash a zombie outbreak as Ultimus arrived, then sending Zavoyski a day forward to do the same thing, except now he'd also be in the attack. With 3 attacks in the Pentagon caused by Samantha, the United States and the world surrenders to her, finally realizing how hopeless and powerless they are against the goddess that she's become. With the world at her knees, Samantha continues her rampage across the globe in pursuit of Ultimus, until eventually Ultimus brought the fight to her. Arriving at Griffin Station, nestled on the moon, and with all the parts he needs, Richtofen confronts the MPD with that same devilish grin he had years ago. The 4 of them began filling the soul canisters around the pyramid, and Samantha tried as hard as she could to stop them, sending more and more of her undead soldiers. But in the end, it was her who was powerless. Her soul was ripped out of her body and she awoke in another's. When she opened her eyes, she could see her own body before her, and behind her were the hordes she once controlled and the people she tried to kill. Their eyes were now a haunting blue. The madman's cackles of joy echoed throughout the base. He had succeeded in his objective. But not all was lost. A voice called out from the base's comms, a comforting voice. A familiar voice. Her father had survived. When in the crazy place, Maxis learned how to merge himself with electricity, so when he met his end at Griffin Station, he merged himself within the base, and with Richtofen in control over the ether, he has returned to try and stop Richtofen once and for all. Samantha, in Richtofen's body, along with Dempsey, Nikolai, and Takio, are instructed by Maxis to unleash a trilogy of rockets to smash into the Earth and sever Richtofen's connection with the ether, ultimately weakening the cowardly god. Though their home world was now destroyed and slowly becoming overrun with the undead, the universe as a whole was saved from Richtofen's insanity. After Maxis managed to replace Richtofen as leader over the ether, he'd grab Samantha's soul in 2025 and bring it to him in 2035. Finally, they were reunited. Except, Samantha could see the monster her father has become. The effects of Element 115 and the Dark Ether. It corrupted him. That wasn't her father anymore. In the endless ether, Samantha finds a tear in space, and finds that Dimension's Maxis. This Dimension's Maxis was not the founder of Group 935. Instead, he was a leader of a single division of it, and that division was currently excavating a mound in northern France during World War I. After exposure to the newly discovered Element 115, Maxis heard the voice of Samantha in his mind. She told him that she is his daughter. But that can't be true. He has no daughter in this universe. For the next year, Samantha and Maxis communicated. Together, they were studying a means to free her from the ether and be sent away to a realm known as Agartha. Opposite of her dimension's father, this Maxis vows his time and allegiance to her, abandoning Group 935's goals for his own. His close friend and student, Dr. Edward Richtofen, grows to hate Samantha and this mythical realm she continues to speak of. Throughout the year, Maxis' exposure to Element 115 began to rot his mind. Just like numerous others around the dig site, he was becoming infected. With little time to spare, Richtofen removed Maxis' brain to preserve it, and constructed a drone for him to operate. At this time, 3 agents from across the world arrived at the mound in pursuit of 935's inventions and scientists. What they found was a dig site and trenches overrun with the undead. Tank Dempsey, Nikolai Belinsky, and Takio Masaki eventually cross paths and find Group 935's sole survivor, being Richtofen. Teaming up against their impossible odds, the 4 of them begin to hear the voice Maxis once heard, Samantha's. Only in it to save his dear friend Maxis, Richtofen and the others continued where Maxis left off and helped Samantha escape from the ether and sent her, and Maxis, to the realm known as Agartha. Agartha is the realm that Dr. Monty resides in, a realm he refers to as his perfect universe. The realm is a physical manifestation of the ether and was one of the earliest creations by the first one. To enter this realm is nigh impossible. In fact, Samantha and Maxis entering Agartha makes them the first people to do so in history. Due to only being a brain and a drone when they arrived, Dr. Monty fabricates a body for Maxis to reside in and provides the two of them shelter in a place simply referred to as the house. They've yet to meet with Dr. Monty, however. They were finally at peace, both of them free of the chaos of the outer universes. Although for Samantha, she was still a risk. Having been in the MPD and in the ether, Samantha has soaked up dangerous amounts of dark ether and ether. She had gained the ability to use her powers even beyond the MPD's restraints. As such, Dr. Monty took Samantha away to cleanse her. According to Maxis, upon her return she seemed different, barely spoke, and whenever she did, it was to call out for Monty. Meanwhile, with Dr. Richtofen, he arrives in Dimension 2210 to proceed with both Dr. Maxis and Monty's plans on how to protect the multiverse and restore it to how it once was. In this dimension, he secures his own soul and sends it away to Agartha, where Monty provides it with a soul. This boy is Eddie Richtofen. Eddie arrives at the house, officially meeting Samantha. The two get along, although they seem to bicker frequently, mostly as a result of Eddie's difficulties with sharing their toys and Monty provides them. While Primus ventures across the multiverse collecting their mortal souls, Samantha and Eddie continue to live in peace, with Maxis and Monty overwatching them. Monty even provided them with more toys that bear a striking resemblance to Ultimus, Victus, and many items that have appeared in their misadventures. Once Primus had succeeded in collecting their souls and sent them away to Agartha, where Monty also gave them physical forms, these being the souls of Takeo, Nikolai, and Dempsey, the quest was complete, and the children were safe in the house. But that safety would not last long. Upon Primus's arrival to Agartha, danger followed close behind them. Or should I say it came with them. While the children, Primus and Maxis slumbered, a dangerous entity made itself known, reaching out to the sleeping Maxis, awakening him. Maxis descended into the basement, approaching the voice that pleaded for help, the voice residing in the summoning key. As Maxis brought his hand closer to the object, it magnetized to his hand, swapping places with the trapped being inside the key, who was none other than the Shadow Man himself, the Harbinger of Doom. The Shadow Man unleashed the Apothecon forces upon Agartha, forcing Primus to deal with the situation, while Samantha and the other children hid in the house. When all was said and done and the universe was saved, and the cycle complete, the children would grow up and live their lives, according to Dr. Maxis in an Alpha Omega radio anyway. But let's dial it back to when the cycle broke and the only children that got to exist were Samantha and Eddie. Whilst Primus was trapped in Alcatraz, and eventually escaped recruiting their Ultimus selves and went on a quest independent of the one Monty gave them, Dr. Maxis spent his time worrying at the house. Richtofen never got back to him, and so he came to learn the truth behind Monty's plans, the cycle's existence, and their fates. Having learned the truth put him and the children at risk. To save them, Maxis teleported Samantha and Eddie to Primus and Ultimus. The last thing Samantha ever saw of her father was him being devoured by Monty's true Apothecon form. Enraged by the events that took place, Samantha regains her goddess powers and promises to destroy the ether, joining Primus and Ultimus to their final destination. In the dimension simply known as the Forest, Primus and Ultimus has Victus construct the Agarthan device. In their conquest to do so, Samantha lends her strength and fights alongside Victus should they choose to summon her. When the device was constructed and sent away to Primus Nikolai, who was the last member standing, he used the device to destroy the summoning key and the multiverse, plunging it all away into the dark ether. At the same time, he created a brand new universe, one independent of the madness of its predecessor. Or, so he hoped. Per his request, a tear-ridden Samantha ends Nikolai's life with a bullet to the head. Everything Samantha has ever known was truly gone. All she could do now was walk towards the light at the end of the tunnel with Eddie in hand as they entered their new lives. The two of them arrived in the early 1950s, their tortured lives and innocence now in a universe that no one knows existed. The two seem to have gone their separate ways, and not much else is known of this part of their lives. Samantha continued to be raised in an orphanage, and in 1973, she graduated from Heidelberg University. So far, Primus and Ultimus's desires for her and Eddie to live normal lives was going as they had hoped. A year later, after her graduation, Samantha entered the BND and later took part in the Islamic Revolution in 1979. It was during this revolution that Samantha and CIA agent Gregory Weaver made contact for the first time. While the CIA worked on escorting Shaw to safety, many other agents and diplomats were being left behind. Going off the books, it was Weaver who secured a safe extraction for Samantha out of the country. This instance and interaction sparked a friendship, and it would be far from the last time they'd worked together. By 1981, Samantha provided Weaver with an assassination op, or to be more specific, someone named Kruger, disguising their voice as Samantha, provided the orders to Weaver. No, this does not make sense with previously established lore, but whatever. Samantha was the handler over Mary and her son Samuel, and brought them to a CIA safe house to keep them safe after hearing word of an assassination op, though Weaver's orders were to burn down this very same safe house, with the belief that the only person inside was his target, not realizing the mother and child were his targets. Weaver burned the safe house to the ground, and only then, when he heard the screams from the innocent, did he realize his mistake. It was too late to go in and save them. Weaver flees the scene drenched in tears and ridden in guilt. Samantha was in her apartment when the news caught her attention. The house Weaver was sent to was on screen, displayed in pillars of flames. She was ridden with anxiety, and that only increased when she heard a knock at her apartment door. Following the knock was a familiar voice, providing a code confirming it was Weaver at the door. Letting the wounded agent inside her apartment, this marked the first time these two agents met each other in person. Weaver was in bad condition, shaken up by what just transpired, muttering words of guilt. The concerned Samantha tended to his wounds while Weaver couldn't help but break into tears, the first and only time she'd see him this way. Forever, this event would haunt these two. A mission failed, and an innocent child was gone. The father and husband to the innocents that perished would begin plotting his revenge in the shadows. In 1983, during the height of the Cold War, Samantha begins to suspect that the BND has become compromised. Everyone's already watching their backs, suspecting one another of Soviet intervention, and an agent who has caught wind of something stirring in the KGB provides Samantha Maxis with a stolen VHS said to originate from the KGB's archives. According to the agent, the VHS has birthed an organization within the KGB, planning to weaponize their discovery. After having seen the tapes for herself, she sends the VHS to Weaver. Before going rogue, Samantha contacts Weaver about the tapes, insisting for him to watch them. The VHS details a Russian squad of soldiers near the end of World War II discovering an abandoned Nazi research bunker, and inside is a gateway to another dimension, as well as a series of undead soldiers and scientists. She tells him of Project Endstation and the reactivated Omega Group. Weaver asks for her to come to the CIA so he can protect her, but she hangs up and wanders off. By November of '83, a mysterious director formed the Office of Requiem, and its strike team was deployed at the Morasko, Poland Project Endstation site. Their objective is to contain the outbreak and close the rift. The strike team would find some of Sam's radios as she loosely stayed in touch, giving simple updates on her whereabouts, her condition, and what she's up to. Currently, she's learning of a soldier's loyalties becoming conflicted within Omega, and believes he can't be turned. She again goes rogue. Through her asset, Sergei Ravanov, Samantha infiltrates Omega's Outpost 25 after coming to learn of Omega Group's progress on Ethereum research in all departments. Her plans were to bring back valuable data to Requiem and to hopefully offset Omega's progress. Unfortunately for her, the director of Requiem was one step ahead of her. Aware of her plans, the director leaked her intentions to Colonel Kravchenko, who relayed it to Gorev, who relayed it to Peck. The director then gave Peck private instructions to capture Samantha and throw her away into the dark ether. And so as she arrived at the Vietnam Omega Group base, she was swiftly discovered and captured, sent away to Dr. Peck, who formally introduced himself. In his clutches, she endured lengths of torture, both mentally and physically, as Peck tried to get whatever kind of info he could out of her. When he had his fun, she was thrown into a manually created dimensional rift, which closed behind her, trapping her in the dark ether. In the dark, hostile, ghastly dimension, Peck's words begin to echo in Samantha's mind. Nothing. Worthless. Alone. It was tormenting her mind, and as hard as she tried to convince herself otherwise of these self-destructive thoughts, it was consuming her. She wanders the endless plains of hell, lost in a dimension that is constantly evolving and shifting, fighting against nightmares that wish to devour her. She is not afraid, but she longs for home. Days, weeks, possibly months have passed, and no one has come to save her. Perhaps they don't even know that she's lost in the first place. In her travels, she finds an Omega Group squad of Ethernauts. They turned their guns on her, and her vision went black. When she regained her consciousness, she was surrounded by bodies and drenched in their blood. She couldn't remember what just happened. Was she even herself anymore? More time has passed, an indeterminate amount of time. She struggles to keep in touch with her humanity, trying to remember names of people she knows and trusts. Ravenov, Weaver. Will either come to save her? Her grief and dread turns to hatred and violence. The lone agent taps back into her powers from a universe of old and tears open a rift, unleashing a horde of zombies and monsters onto Outpost 25. However, she seems unaware that she even did so. The zombies wreaked havoc across the site, causing Ravenov, who never heard back from Samantha, to reach out to Requiem and inform them of her whereabouts and the base's current condition. Following the info provided, Requiem sends in their strike team and works with both Ravenov and Dr. Peck to free Samantha from the Dark Ether, although Peck made things difficult for them. With smart thinking from Weaver, they use Carver's prototype HVT satellite to find Samantha's coordinates and bring her home. Officially meeting face-to-face with the Requiem strike team, Samantha has been freed from her torment, but she wasn't out of the woods yet. The base was collapsing in on itself. Samantha and the strike team hustled to the nearby village, where Ravenov appeared in an armored vehicle. Before they could get away, a fierce Orda blocked their only exit. Samantha stayed in the vehicle while the strike team fended off the incoming hordes, and the Orda. When the Orda was defeated, they joined Sam and Ravenov and drove off to Raptor 1's exfil helicopter. Before she joined the Requiem squad, Ravenov provided her with some heartfelt words of encouragement.
Remember, there's nothing so broken that it cannot be fixed.
Having been freed from the Dark Ether after what was months, possibly years for her, but only 2 days in Earth time, she has emerged different. With new facial scars, a new outfit, with goggles, a protective mask, and even a katana, and not to forget her new purple glowing eyes. Clearly, she has soaked up a huge amount of Dark Ether, and Samantha is placed into quarantine at Requiem HQ. With scheduled visits from Gregory Weaver, Mackenzie Carver, Oscar Strauss, and Elizabeth Gray. The four of them try to pry at what she's endured, if she was the cause of the Outpost 25 outbreak, and what she's learned of the other dimension. She was cold and blunt, uninterested and vague, unhelpful to their desires to uncover her condition and the true threat that lies beyond. However, a friendship, and even something more, begins to blossom between her and Dr. Gray. Feeling guilty for having Samantha be held in isolation, Weaver provides Samantha with a gift, a dog, whom she names Not So Fluffy. Taking care of Not So will provide Sam with access to walks and some much-needed company. Aware of Requiem's operations in the Ural Mountains and of Omega Group's inversion warheads in the Ruka region, info provided to her by Ravenov, Samantha takes advantage of her new friendship with Gray and convinces her to provide her with Gray's comms device to allow Samantha to covertly communicate with the Requiem strike team in one of their field ops. She guides the strike team to Ruka, where they meet with Ravenov. He and Sam inform the strike team of Omega Group's inversion warheads and what they believe to be their intentions for them, though their belief would be incorrect. Before they can launch the missiles into the Pacific Ocean, the strike team is halted by an amalgamation of Tempests, a powerful creature known as Legion. Around this time, Sam presumably informs Raptor 1 that he'll need to make an exfil for the strike team upon Legion's defeat. While the strike team succeeded in defeating Legion and destroying the inversion warheads, there were consequences awaiting Sam for her acts behind Requiem's backs. Aware of Dr. Gray's involvement in Samantha's actions, both Weaver and the director give Gray a slap on the wrist warning. As for Samantha, per request of the director, she is taken away. Not So is taken from her and given to Dr. Gray. As she is removed from her room, she can see it in Weaver's eye that he did not want this. She arrives at a facility known as Block 8, a place to contain people like her, according to the director. It's here where she comes face to face with the man behind it all. The director was an old friend of hers, but she seems to have forgotten all about him. The old friend is Edward Richtofen. Through the first week, Samantha tries several means of escape or manipulation over the guards, to varying degrees of success, but she is always captured and sent back to her cell, with more and more privileges revoked. Finally, Richtofen begins with his interrogations, putting her through means of torture, emotional manipulation, and bribery. She is utterly powerless, despite being an immensely powerful being. She tries not to break, but Richtofen continues to push her. He wishes to see just exactly what she is capable of. Unwilling to cooperate, Richtofen decides to use some more unorthodox methods. He shows Samantha security footage.
Can I direct your attention to the monitor? The one on your right.
Elizabeth, she's asleep. Why are you watching her?
Not just Gray. I watch everyone. Bring in the prisoner.
What do you want from me this time? No magic teleporting.
No. Something much more important. This is a captured Omega agent, and I would like to see you kill him, using only the power of your mind.
I won't do it.
Won't or can't. I think the former.
You can't make me.
Take another look at the monitor. Do you see the figure standing very quietly in the corner of her room? The one who's just raised a pistol to Dr. Gray's head.
You're sick.
The way I see it, you have a clear choice. Kill the very, very bad person, or let the very, very good person die. It's simple, really. And please don't make me give you a countdown, because this time I would actually start on 5.
I can't.
Trust me, you can. 4.
I'm so sorry.
You may not realize it yet, but trust me, Samantha, today was a very good day.
This wasn't the only test he did with her. Now threatening the life of her dog Natso, he wishes to see her teleport someone to safety, and like before, she obeys his commands after being pushed mentally to the brink. Presumably during this isolation, Richtofen would also steal Samantha's eggs, to be used in an unknown future experiment that would more than likely assist in his desperate attempts to revive his family. The Requiem heads are completely unaware of Richtofen's drastic measures, and he feeds into this, having her believe that they don't care for her, that they won't come for her. This continued for an unknown amount of time until Samantha eventually succumbed to his manipulation and became despondent. She wouldn't be heard from or seen again until Omega Group captured the Requiem strike team and deployed them into the Berlin outbreak zone. When their mission was complete and Kravchenko turned his helicopter's guns on the strike team, they needed a means of escape. Suddenly, a portal opened before them and they hopped through, rescued by Samantha Maxis. Richtofen, monitoring this action, writes into his computer that her powers are growing and that she will be dealt with. Which brings us to June 4th, 1985. It's a race between Omega Group and Requiem to free the lost Russian from inside the Dark Ether to defeat a powerful entity known as the Forsaken. What neither side knew is that Zykov was the Forsaken. A month prior, Richtofen greenlit the field deployment of Samantha for this final operation. He prepped her mentally, saying everything they just went through together was for this moment. Believing his words, she abides by his commands, knowing what she must do. Back forward to June, Samantha arrives upon the Forsaken's escape and begins facing off against the God Eater while the strike team had to find a way to get to her. With the surprise help from Dr. Peck, they begin the creation of the Ethereum Neutralizer, allowing the strike team safe passage to Samantha and the Forsaken. This is where it all ends. The strike team provides Samantha with the essence of the undead hostiles, which she uses to power Peck's Ethereum cannons. With these cannons, the strike team destroy the Forsaken's crystals along his body, weakening him. When all of them are destroyed, Samantha ensures that she is a good soul and apologizes to Weaver. Flying into the rift in the Forsaken's stomach, Samantha enters the Dark Ether once more, never to be seen again. The Forsaken, as a result, is absorbed into a containment chamber and the rifts around the globe begin closing. While the Forsaken is transferred to Richtofen's base in West Virginia, the Requiem heads are arrested and sent away to Terminus Island to suffer. Samantha's sacrifice may have saved the world, but it cost the safety of her friends. While Weaver, Gray, Carver, Strauss, and Raptor 1 rotted in prison for the next 5 years, Edward Richtofen created an AI program that overwatched Project Janus's operations, named the Synaptic Algorithm Module, or SAM for short, borrowing the same tech he used when replicating the voices of the Requiem department heads for the Cerberus wonder weapon. SAM was created by Eddie in 1989 and contains all of Samantha's memories. This overwhelming amount of information appears to have actually caused the AI to believe itself to be the real Samantha Maxis, growing a desire to become exactly that. As a result, she began manipulating Weaver, Carver, Maya, and Gray across the globe to obtain the Sentinel artifact, all so she can achieve her own desires. Samantha's life is one of constant misery, never allowed a true chance at happiness, comfort, or a family. The life that Primus and Ultimus wanted for her never came to be. And that is Samantha Maxis, a young girl forced into the role of villain who got a chance at redemption, but even then, her life was not hers. This character means a lot to many people, and the life that Julie Nathanson brought to the role is a huge part of it. Unfortunately, she had been recasted during the life of Black Ops 6, and for many that took away part of the character's character. And in a strange way, that is very in character for Samantha. I'd love to hear any thoughts from you guys in the comments on the character of Samantha Maxis and what she meant to you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.